Hello again, Facebook friends. People have been asking me when will I be posting the next Getting to Know Your Indiana Neighbor. So I'm glad that the people who are watching are enjoying it. Well, the answer is right now. You're going to love these neighbors. Pam and Jason Lockmiller, how can you not? Successful business owners right here in our hometown, and they really give back to the community so much more than what we will ever know. They're civic leaders. They're just great down home Martin County people. And you're going to get to know them a little bit better today. Pam and Jason Lockmiller are next, getting to know your Indiana neighbor right now. Hello, Facebook friends. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and that's sit down with Jason and Pam Lockmiller. Of course, Jason and Pam, everybody knows them as their Indiana neighbors, right? Both here in Martin County, but we're going to find out a little bit about them today. Some things we do know, some things we don't. Just to kind of set the stage, when I asked Pam if Jason would be a little bit reluctant in doing this, first of all, I can tell you he is, although he hasn't told me that yet. But she told me that, well, maybe, but sometimes you have a way of getting him to do things that he's a little uncomfortable with, right? Mm-hmm. So did it take much prodding to get him to do this?
Not too much.
Jason, is that right?
It wasn't too bad.
And I should say also we've got two mics. The budget doesn't call for three just yet. So Pam's got a lapel mic, and Jason and I will share this one. But let's just start from the beginning. Let's just get to know Pam and Jason a little bit. And Pam, let's just start with you. You don't have to say when you were born, but kind of your childhood growing up, your graduation from high school, your further education. Let's get to know you a little bit, your family. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about them.
Well, I was born in Illinois, and that's where I came from. My family was from there, and we moved here when I was in the 5th grade. And I graduated from Lagodi in '83. My family has Bailey's Cars in Shoals. Yeah, that was my dad's business. And I went to Vincennes Beauty College when I was in high school through a vocational program. And I had my own salon for about 15 years. And then I left that to help with this business.
So when and how did you meet Jason?
Mutual friend. I was in high school.
Yes, I'm a few years older than Pam, several. And so I was in college. I graduated college.
Yeah.
I was out of college. Mm-hmm. And then we just kind of got together and dated for several years, 5 or 6 years probably. I think it was 6 years we dated. And then she persuaded me to marry her, and we did.
What year was that?
83. No, 85.
85.
I started the business.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. So 2 years after you start the business, you get married. Pam, did you know what you were getting into at the time? Any idea?
No, not really. But we never do usually, you know.
Sure. Those are the adventures of life.
That's right.
Yeah. Jason, I knew you a little bit growing up and your family.
You had a brother in my class.
I did. Randy was in your class.
Randy was in my class.
And I guess one question I was driving here, it's not on anything I prepared, but I just happened to think, the building that you're in right now for Lockmiller Machine Tool and Design is really kind of right across from where you grew up. Was this your property growing up, your family?
No, it wasn't. My first shop that I built was behind Mom and Dad's house, which was just across the street. We took an old barn and poured a concrete floor and just built a shop. And then that lasted for a few years. And then we built the one that's up by our house, right off the school parking lot. And then it continued to grow, and we wanted to expand, but obviously couldn't expand there. And so I bought 3 acres from Mike Gwynn, who is my neighbor over here, who actually works for me, has worked for me for 20 years probably now. He's one of our welders. And so I bought that 3 acres. And then I just continued to, as property would be available in the immediate area, I would just kind of buy it up. And we ended up buying the Arvin property across the street. And then a year ago, the storm came through and done some damage to the feed store, and we were able to acquire that piece of property too.
What was the name of the business when you started in 1983?
It's the same as today. Actually, it is exactly the same.
So You graduate in 78.
78.
You go to school where?
I went to Vincennes. At that time, Vincennes was just a junior college, just had 2-year programs. You could get an AS degree there. And they had a machine tool technology class. And so it's more of a trade school type class, which was good for me because I wasn't good in school with books or anything. And so I enjoyed that and graduated from there and actually went to work for my professor, the Vincennes teacher I had a shop in Oaktown, Indiana, and I moved to Oaktown, Indiana. And that's, there was moving from Lagodi to Oaktown. I thought it was a big move, but Oaktown was smaller, so we didn't gain anything there. I worked there for a few years. Then a job opening came in Washington. I took that job. And then a job opening came up at Crane, and I was able to go to Crane in the Army machine shop and worked there about, I don't know, several years before I left and went full time in my business.
So you say going full time in your business. You start your business in 1983. If I do the math, you're about 23 years old. So where was the vision? What did you want to do? Why did you start up your own business?
Well, everybody wants to know, did you expect to get this big? And no, I don't. I don't expect anything. I don't want to set expectations and then be disappointed. So we just kind of let it evolve as it would evolve. And but I knew I felt like I always wanted to have some type of business. Pam was self-employed in her beauty salon, and I had always somewhat been self-employed, mowed yards for years, painted houses, done things like that, and but finally settled on this. John Knepp, who was our shop teacher, he's gone now, but he kind of got me started in this when they still had a small machine program at the school when we were in school, and so I kind of credit John for helping me get started and at least get a career path. And I haven't really deviated much from it once I started. And I see a lot of people who just jump from career to career to career, and they seem to get nowhere. And I thought I've got to stick with this if I'm going to get anywhere. And we have, and it's been successful.
The daily roles, Pam and Jason, your roles, and I know that can take 30 minutes in itself, but Pam, if you could, your daily role with this business in itself, how would you describe it?
Well, I do the accounting part of the business, but I like to say that in our mix, the two of us, I do the public part of the business, and so that takes me. I'm serve on several boards and different things, so I do have a lot of engagements that take me out of the office during the week. But
yeah, well, that's a good decision to have her out in public. I think it could be.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think so. And what about you, Jason? Obviously co-owners, but at the same time, when she was calling you a moment ago, she said, well, he might be up on the lip. So obviously you're not an office guy.
Well, I sit in the office during the day just because that's what we have to do. Okay. I'd rather be out on the shop floor working, and I do. I go out and run machines like the other guys do. But then someone still has to sit in the office and quote all these projects, bid all these jobs, and look at what we're going to be doing 6 months, a year, 5 years from now. We have to forecast that out and look for work and try and attain that work. Because, I know what we're doing next week. I know what we're doing next month. But I really need to know what I'm doing next year. I've got 50, 60 guys here that depend on us to make sure they have a job. And for that, I have to know what's going to happen long in advance to make sure that we have a good flow of work. And then we've never laid anyone off, ever, in 38 years, 39 years, however long it's been. We never work less than 45, 50 hours a week. Everyone does. And so to do that, we got 50, 60 people, you're talking 2,500, 3,000 man hours a week that you have to go out and make sure we have that much work every week to keep everybody busy.
So the last 2 years, COVID, inflation, rising prices, of course, part shortages, how has that impacted your business and the employees, if at all?
It has impacted, but it hasn't really impacted until just about the last 6 months. The first year and a half of the COVID episode didn't affect us whatsoever, work-wise or anything. And I'll just be honest, I never really bought into the whole thing. We didn't wear the masks here. I didn't force the people to do anything like that. If they wanted to wear one, wear one. And I didn't go out and say, you got to go get a vaccine. We just didn't do that. And, but now we are having some supply chain issues. We're starting to see some products that we can't get our hands on that normally we could just buy immediately. And it is starting to affect some of our current contracts. We have a lot of contracts that are long-term, multi-year contracts, and I have to buy so much material each year. And now it's coming up to where I'm having a problem finding material to fill my orders. And I'm not sure when that's going to get corrected, but it's going to be a bigger issue the further we get along in this.
Pam, the day-to-day challenges, and let's set aside COVID and the current part shortages, but even before that, the challenges of owning a business like this that people might not see, they might not think of, the daily challenges. What are some of those?
Well, I think the biggest challenge, well, he was alluding to having work, is you're responsible for livelihoods. You're responsible for your employees. And I think that's probably the biggest responsibility, is knowing that you can sustain operations to take care of all these families because they depend on you. I think that's probably the one we take the most seriously.
Most of them are more than just employees. They really are. It becomes a big family, and we treat it that way when we can. And it's a different environment here. I've worked in several places. You have too, Greg. You worked in big business, and it's to run a small business is just different than running a big business. People become more personal.
Do you remember the contract that you got that you felt like, wow, now we're sustainable? We're going to be around for a while.
We've had a lot of big contracts over the years. Does any one in particular stand out? Probably not just one, but we have been doing a lot of government work for several years and a lot of private industry work too. One of our key players is Toyota. When we landed that, if you want to call it a contract, we landed the right to go in there and work for Toyota when Toyota built the plant in Princeton over 20 years ago. We were one of the first shops that was to get in there and get a foothold. And that's been a very profitable place to be. Toyota is probably the best ran company around. They are efficient, and they make you efficient because they come back on us wanting us to become more efficient to lower their prices. And so they are our biggest private industry customer that we work for. And we have people in that plant every day. From here, we go down there and work every day. We go down there and solve their problems every day.
Jason, I know how old you are. So how long do you see yourself being as involved as what you are today in this business?
I will be involved until I'm tired. And
could be tomorrow.
Could be tomorrow. I've told her that. Every day I get up, I want to come to work. And I've done that for years and years. There'll be a time when I don't want to work as hard as I do. There's no doubt about it. And I can't work as hard as I used to. I'm 63 now, and it's more of a challenge to do some of the things. But I enjoy it. I like the challenge, and I like to think that we do things here differently that most shops can't do. And we're able to do that just because we have great talent, great people that work here. And I still have a vision of where this company is going to be in 5 years. So I guess I'm going to still be around in 5 years. So, but there is still a lot of big things I want to accomplish. I got big things I want to do before I say somebody else take this over. And we've struggled with that too. I never had a son. I had a daughter, but she's in a totally different career. And I suggested that to her. She thought about coming into this business, and I said, you don't want to do that because it's a lot of work. It's 7 days a week. And so she chose a career path, and it's went well for her. She enjoys what she does.
Well, we said we want to get to know our Indiana neighbors, so let's stop talking shop for a moment. Let's talk a little bit about Alexandra, right?
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit about your sunshine.
Well, she decided when she was, I think when she was a senior, she worked for Dr. Birch as an intern, and then she decided that that's what she wanted to do. And she was not an A student, and she was a BC student. So becoming a veterinarian was a challenge for her, and we're both so proud of her because she conquered and
Incredible.
became, and she likes what she does. She loves animals.
She has a passion for it.
Yeah.
She really does.
She has a small zoo at her home, but that's it. And I think we encouraged her to do something. You want to do something that you love doing, because then it's not like work.
Pam said she's not an A student. You and I weren't A students. I'm assuming Pam was an A student.
I believe Pam was a little better than I and you. I only excelled in math. Any other class I couldn't do, and that's just a testament to what I do. What we do here is math all day long, basically, and I'm sure I disappointed my parents when I brought those report cards home. I'm sure I did. They were bad. They were really bad.
Well, it goes to show you that it's not all books, right?
Mm-hmm.
I understand, and this wasn't something I prepared for you guys, but again, as I'm thinking about questions, if you want to answer them, great. But I know you take veterans and the days associated with veterans and your employees very seriously. And I've heard that you do some unique things with veterans. If that's the case, would you like to share?
Well, Veterans Day, we always cook out and invite the vets in and give them a free meal. And
I think that started when we had the restaurant.
yeah, when we had the restaurant,
We decided that we wanted to offer the veterans a free meal on Veterans Day. And then when we finally gave up that
we closed the
challenge,
restaurant. We still wanted to continue that
Yeah.
veteran thing on. So, it's usually on the Saturday, either before or after Veterans Day. We
Yeah.
take a Saturday. We cook everything, and we just invite them in. And we've been serving it in the front parking lot last three
With
times.
COVID, yeah.
And my dad was a veteran. My grandpa was. I was lucky not to have to be.
Right.
And so we feel like there's and the government itself is a big supporter of us, and I feel like that's just a little bit of a way we give back. These guys done their time, and they should be rewarded for that and
acknowledged.
And I think they appreciate it, and we try and hire veterans when we can. That's just something we try to do.
We talk about giving back, and that's definitely something I want to talk about. I think that the public knows that Pam, you and Jason give a lot back to the community. The public doesn't know near what you give back to the community, I'm sure. But one thing that you did, and I'm just interested in the process, the thought process, and that was, I guess, maybe last winter or toward the winter, when there was a vote where the deputies of Martin County, they couldn't give them a pay raise. And you guys stepped up and gave them each, as I understand it, the $5,000 pay raise that I guess you felt they should have gotten. I'm interested to know the thought process, the discussion between you and Jason when you finally said, let's do this. Was it a lot of discussion?
No.
No.
Not a lot of discussion there, Greg. I was at that meeting to support Travis Rouse. He's a friend of mine, and had no intentions of doing what we'd done when I went to that meeting. And the meeting proceeded down a path that I didn't feel was acceptable. And so I stepped out of the meeting and called her and told her, I said, this is what's going on. I said, I think we need to step up and take care of this. And so it was about a 30-second conversation. That's about all we have. It's usually pretty cut and dry. We don't bounce it around. We just get to the point, get it over with. And so then we we just supported the sheriff's department by helping them out when I felt like they should have been helped out. And I could see it was going nowhere. And Travis was getting very frustrated, and which in turn was frustrating me. And so that was the easiest way for me to solve the problem.
Well, and I think too, as business owners, as employers, we realize the importance of keeping your help and the idea that they could, I mean, obviously they were loyal to stay making less. And so we felt like it was important that they maintain the help that they had. So, I mean, a lot of that was part of the thought process too.
Good help is extremely hard to find. And, we struggle here with it too. And we could use more help, but we need good help. And so right now I just quote and take on amount of work for the workforce I have. Could we build the workforce? Absolutely. It's just that the workforce is not there for us to build on.
What other interest? I know there are a lot of other interests that you have, professional interest, I guess, that we might not know about. Well, let me talk about one that I do know about, and of course that's the downtown building, the renovation of that. And I understand that, of course, we all hear everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we understand that there's a lot more problems with that building maybe than what there was when you first started renovating that. But what would be your assessment of that timeline? What's your hopes with that building? Can you share that with us?
I believe they were down there working on it today.
Mm-hmm.
I believe they were working on the roof. Roof was a major issue after we got into it and become quite extensive repair. And I believe they were coating that roof today, from what I hear.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't uptown today, but I understand the trucks were there and they were doing that. So we have to get the building secure, get it dried out, and then we can go forward with what we want to do to renovate that and to hopefully get a couple new businesses in down there. We've been approached by some people who are interested, but we have to get it put together first, and then we can decide what we can do down there. I don't want to, you got any input on that?
I think that, I mean, the main thing, we bought the building to save it
Mm-hmm.
because it was in a state of deterioration. And he's partners with Marv Wagler,
Mm-hmm.
and so that helps with these kind of projects to have Marv on board. Otherwise, it'd be a lot more difficult. But I don't know. We just, of course, the Main Street organization that we have that destination now, and the big part of that is downtown revitalization. And so we're doing our part by rehabbing that building that is, I mean, it's one of the more visual buildings of the downtown.
It is, and, across the square we have a big hole that is not going to be filled up anytime soon. And so we need to try and do something to create something downtown, and maybe that will spur growth other places.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely want to talk about what you just talked about,
Mm-hmm.
the call program,
Mm-hmm.
in just a moment. But kind of a good segue into another project that you're involved in, and that's the housing development a little bit north of town there. It's no secret, obviously, that there's not much housing as needed, whether it's rental properties or permanent properties. So tell me a little bit about your involvement, what your hopes are, and again, maybe what your vision is for housing development in Loogootee.
Well, you're correct. You can't have any growth without housing. So once again, Marv Wagner and I secured the property north of Country Court, and they had full intentions of completely developing that out. It just never happened. And so we bought it, but all the property that we purchased is out of the city limits. So we're in the process of getting that annexed into the city so we can have access to all the utilities. And until that's done, we're not prepared to put roads in, infrastructure in. And so right now it's in our attorney's hands getting the annexation process done. I didn't realize it was so complex to give a piece of property to the city. I'm not giving the property to them. I'm just giving them the right to tax it. And it becomes taxable property for the city, but it's quite extensive to get that done. And so we're probably a year away from being able to get that done, start building roads and infrastructure. And I don't want to be in the housing construction business, and Marv is, but he's busy enough where he doesn't need any more houses to build. So we just want to lay it out, build lots, get all the utilities ran to them, and then let everyone choose their own contractor and build their house. And there'll be certain specifications they have to meet, obviously. And but other than that, we're thinking we're going to be able to have approximately 40 to 42 lots back up through there, which will be a big boost for the city of Lagodi to be able to have that much new housing and to create a better, more tax base that the city desperately needs also.
So will it be lots and then people will be responsible for building the homes, or will you have homes built and people, they purchase the home?
I don't want to build any spec homes. Marv and I have talked about we might build 2 or 3 just to kind of get the project started, just to launch it. But really, I think most people want to build their own home, want their own contractor, and that's what we want. We want people to come in and build the house they want. And so we'll go that direction, but there might be 1 or 2 pop up out there that we build just to have something going.
And Pam, I know we talked about the community action leading Lagodi call a moment ago, of which you're at the forefront. I know you have so many passions. I don't know how you decide which ones to attack. It's probably fair, isn't it, Jason?
That is true.
But you guys were successful, of course, in getting at least a designation of the Indiana Main Street program, about a 2-year process. But what do you see going forward in how that designation will benefit Lagodi?
Well, the focus of that program is to revitalize your downtown. And within that scope, it's to revitalize the buildings, to highlight the historicness of your downtown. And also, the big thing for me is to have collaboration with all of the wonderful organizations that are in our area, that are, the Park Board, the Beautification Board. We need to all work together for the same purpose and to provide some unity on that forefront. And then also, I think one of my main visions for that is to get young people involved and create new leadership, so that we can, have some pride in our community and do fun things and just a sense of community.
And I see that happening. That's exactly. I went to the very first call meeting. Didn't go back, nothing against that, but I saw some of the same people that I've been involved with for years, and there were a couple of younger people there that I thought, this is fantastic. They'll handle it. They'll be just fine. I know they're looking for everybody that they can get.
Yes.
And I've seen that from many of them, that the younger ones are getting involved, and that's so vital to this community. I still think of you as one of the young ones, but
I don't feel like one of the young ones.
But even at that next generation is stepping
absolutely.
up, and I think we're really going to see the benefits of that. Again, something maybe that I didn't really think of to write down, but we do want to get to know our neighbors a little bit. So, Pam, what's something about Jason maybe that most people don't know? And Jason, you think about the same thing about Pam that you can say and tell? Is there anything in particular that people think he's a quiet, humble man, and around the house he might be totally different? But what is it that might be something that we don't know about Jason that we probably should?
Well, I think probably one of the main things that I think of is his ability to write. And I know he's given a couple of speeches at different events, and so that really surprised me the first time that he did that, because I didn't know.
When you say write, write songs, write poetry, write just about anything?
Yeah, pretty much. pretty much.
Would you like to sing one of your songs, Jason?
No, not singing.
No, okay.
Writing, just writing.
Okay.
No, he can't sing.
So is that something that you do in relaxation? Do a little writing?
I do enjoy to write. I have to be in the right mindset to do it, though. And a lot of times, something has to spur me to write. I have to have a subject matter, and it comes quite easy for me to, but it does take time, and it's usually when things are shut down around here and no one's here and it's very quiet, where I can just sit down and put my thoughts to paper, and I enjoy that. I'm never going to write a book. I don't have any intentions of that, but I don't mind writing small. I don't want to call it a speech, but if I have to go talk somewhere, I enjoy writing what I want to convey and get that out, and it comes easy to me. And as far as Pam, she's big in the Humane Society. I think a lot of people know that.
We know that. What else?
And the passion she has for animals, and just it doesn't stop at the Humane Society.
Right.
I mean, it's at our house, and Alexandra just lives a couple houses up, and she can't drive by that house without stopping and giving the dogs a treat, because they come running to their little electric fence. They won't cross it, but she'll pull in the driveway and they'll be right there, and she'll have to give them a bone. I mean, it's every day. And those dogs, and sometimes we'll be in the truck together coming back here, and we'll be in a hurry and we'll just drive by, and those dogs will come running out because they know her truck.
Oh, yeah, we call it the biscuit
Yeah,
truck.
it's the biscuit truck. And they'll come running out, and the look of disappointment on their faces because we don't stop is unbelievable. And so she has a huge passion for animals, as my daughter does. So that's one thing that she is very, she wants to help the Humane Society, and she does. But she's very pro animal, and our house shows that.
So Pam, were you one of those little girls, like I'm guessing Alexandra was, that you wouldn't step on an ant? It's something that somebody stepped on an ant or a spider.
I've never had a problem with insects.
You never had a problem with insects? All
but
right.
anything furry,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think that I acquired that from my dad because he was always that way about animals. But
And we've always had animals growing up. Even when I grew up as a kid, mom, dad, we had some cows and chickens and all that stuff. And Alexandra grew up with our cows out at the farm. And we have pictures of her just 2, 3 years old, just walking out in the pasture, feeding the cows, and it just come natural to her. And I think that's why it led for her profession. She's just always been an animal lover, and it's part of our family, and that's what we do.
Kind of as we wind down, Jason, I want to go way back with you to high school. And
Sure.
I can't get through this conversation without talking about you as a student manager on the basketball team, Coach Butcher's team, and the glory days. And how has that shaped you as an individual and maybe even as a business owner?
It has shaped me, and I gave a lot of credit to Jack. Several years ago, we were the alumnus of the year or something like that. Well, you were, and in that talk I gave there, I credited Jack for planting that seed that gave me the idea that you can succeed at whatever you want to do. And I played sports. I enjoyed sports. I played till I was in 8th grade. I think I even played some basketball in the 9th grade. But then just seeing that wasn't going anywhere for me. Everybody around me was growing. I was not growing. I mean, you got Mike Beasley and Mark Gilly and all those guys were just towering over me. And so I knew I had to get a different path if I was going to be part of this team. So I talked to Jack, and he graciously let me become a student manager. And that was an amazing experience, and wouldn't trade it for anything.
So 75, you would have been a freshman, right? So you were a student manager on that team.
I was student manager. I still have my ring, and I was lucky. I mean, as a freshman, I was 15 years old, and there I was on the state runner-up team. I mean, just at that time, I didn't really understand what that meant. It took several years, and maybe even after I was out of high school, to understand what that all meant. And it has that event shaped a lot of lives, and it shaped mine for sure.
Shaped mine as well. So as we end this, because I know both of you have to get back to work, and I can't thank you guys for your time enough. Anything you want to share that maybe we haven't talked about or would like to mention? Just want to give you the stage a little bit, and anything at all before we tell the people that now we know everything we need to know about Pam and Jason.
Well, we do a lot of things, and we try to solve problems that the community has. And I've always figured you probably should do good things when no one's looking. And that's what we try to do. We're not here to get the spotlight or anything. And we've been very fortunate, very lucky. We've had multiple businesses that have strived. We're sitting around 3 of them right here today, and they've all done well. And you got to have a little luck, but then you also she prays all the time. I probably don't do it enough, but you got to have some help. Big guy's got to help you, and we believe that, and he has.
Yeah. Pam, anything you'd like to add?
I just feel like that's we've been blessed, and that's just what we're supposed to do, is to give back some of the blessings that we've received, and that's kind of how we operate.
Well, as neighbors, we've been blessed, and we appreciate what the Lockmillers have done, and will continue to do, no doubt. So now you know a little bit more, probably, than what you did know half hour ago about Pam and Jason Lockmiller and their business interest, and a little personal item here and there. And we thank you so much for being our next Indiana neighbor.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
So that's the story. Everybody has a story. They just happen to have a really, really good one, and we hope you enjoyed it. And we hope that you'll continue to give us suggestions on who you might like to see as your next Indiana neighbor. Thanks for watching.